Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. In this video, I'll show you how to design this themes section over here using HTML and CSS. So this is how it works. We can see that we have these 4 team members over here. And if I hover over any of these members, we have this hover effect. And we can see that we have different hover effects for each of these elements. And this is also responsive. So if we decrease the width of the browser window, this is how it will look on smaller screens, and this is how it will look on smartphones. So we're going to design this using HTML and CSS in this video. So let's get started. Alright, so here I created this folder called Themes section, and I just open it with VS Code. And I also have this folder called Images, where we have these images which we're going to use in our design. Now you can go ahead and get the images of your team members and just remove the background. Now there are a lot of tools online which you can use to remove the backgrounds of these images. So once you remove the background, you can get this type of effect for this design. Alright, so once you're done that, you can just come back over here and start creating our necessary files. So let's create a new file called index.html, and let's create another file called style.css. And let's start with the index.html file. Now in VS Code, you can just type exclamation and press tab, and you'll have this basic HTML5 code. Now here let's link our CSS file, so I'll just type link and press tab, and here let's type style.css in the href. And let's start with the markup of our design. So the first thing we will do is we'll create a container division. Let's give it a class of team container. And in that we'll create a division called team member for each of these team members. So let's type team member. And in the team member, we need to have a division for this image and this circle that we see behind. So let's create a division of the class of image container, and then we'll have an img tag, and in the source let's type images / and we have member1.png, and then we'll create one more division with the class of circle, and we'll style it in the CSS to make it look like this. And now let's go ahead and create another division over here just after this image container, and let's give it a class of details, and in that we will have the name. So I'll just create a division with the class of name, and let's add the name over here. Now here you can add other details as well, so I'll just add this name for now. Let's go ahead and copy this team member from here, and let's paste it 3 more times. And let's change the images and the names over here. So let's change the second one to member2.png, and let's change the name. And let's do the same for the third one. Let's change this to member3.png, and let's change the name. And then lastly we have member4.png, and let's change the name to Sophia. And now let's open this in our browser and let's see how it looks. So I have this extension called Live Server installed in VS Code. So once you have this extension installed, you can just right click over here in the HTML file and click on Open with Live Server. And here we can see that our design is displayed in the browser. Let's go ahead and add some CSS to make it look like this. So let's go back to our source code. Let's go to the CSS file, and let's start by reducing the size of the images. So right now we have huge images. So let's type team member img, and let's set the width of the image to 180 pixels and the height to 180 pixels as well. Let's set the border radius to 50% so that we have this round shape over here. And let's also type object fit to cover so that we have the correct proportions for the image. Right now let's style the container division, and it has this class of team container. So let's go back over here and let's type .team container, and let's set the display to flex so that we have all the elements one next to the other, and let's add a gap of 36 pixels. And now we can see that all these elements are one next to the other. Let's also type justify content to center, and now we can see that everything is in the center. Let's also add a margin top of 100 pixels, and let's set the font family to Montserrat sans serif. Now we'll also set the flex wrap to wrap. So right now if we decrease the width of the browser window, we can see that it doesn't look good. So when we decrease the width of the browser window, these other team members should move down. So for that, let's go back over here and let's type flex wrap, and let's set it to wrap. And now we can see that these team members are moving down on smaller screens. Right, now let's go ahead and style the circle that we have over here behind these images. So for that, let's go back over here, and we have this division of the class of circle. So let's target that. I'll just tap team member, image container, and in that we have the circle. Now we will position this circle relative to the image container division. So let's tap team member, image container, and let's set the position to relative. And now here we can just type position absolute, and let's set the width to 180 pixels, and let's set the height to 180 pixels. Let's set the border radius to 50% so that we have round shape, and let's set the background color to EF. And now we can see that this is how the circle looks. We need to bring this circle to the exact position of the image container, and for that we'll just tap insert 0, and this will set the top, left, bottom and right positions to 0. And now we can see that the circle is in the correct position. Now we need to send this circle to the back of the image. So for that we can just tap Z index of -1. And now we can see that the circle is behind the image. Right, now let's style the name. So if you go back to our HTML file, here we can see that we have this division of the class of details. And first of all, let's target the details. So let's type team member details, and let's set the margin top to 16 pixels, and let's set the text align to center. Right, now let's style the name. So we have this division of the class of name over here. So let's go back over here, and let's tap team member name, and let's set the font weight to 600. Let's set the font size to 18 pixels, and this is how it looks. First of all, let's add the hover effect for the name. So let's go ahead and add a transition over here, and let's tap all 500 milliseconds, and for the easing function let's tap cubic bezier so that we have the bounce effect. So let's tap 0.68, negative 0.55, 0.265 and 1.55. Now you can play around with these values and get the exact result you want. And now let's go ahead and add the hover effect. So let's tap team member :hover, and when you hover over this, we need to add the transition to the name. So let's tap name. Now here let's tap transform, and let's set the transform to scale 1.2, so it will increase the scale by 1.2. And now let's go back, and now here we can see that we have this bounce effect for the name when you hover over this. Right, now let's add the hover effect for the image and the circle. So let's go back over here. Let's go to the circle, and here let's type team member :hover, image container circle, and let's set the background color to F59393, and let's tap transform, and let's tap scale of 1.05, and here also let's add a transition. So I'll just copy this transition from here, and let's add it over here for the circle, and let's change the duration to 400 milliseconds. And now let's go back, and here we can see that we have the hover effect for the circles, and we need to have different colors for each of these circles. So here we can see that we have different colors for each of the team members. So let's do that. Let's go back over here, and let's copy this and paste it down here, and here let's tap :nth child, and let's tap 2. So this will select the second instance of team member, and let's change the color to CBF 593, and we can just remove the transform from here. And now if we go back, here we can see that we have different color for the second one. Now let's do it for the third and the fourth circles. So we can just copy this and paste it down here 2 more times, and let's change this to 3 and this one to 4. And for the third one, let's change the color to 93F5F2, and for the fourth one, let's change the color to 9A93F5. And now we can see we have the correct colors for all the circles. Now let's add the hover effect for the image. So let's go back, and here we have the image container. So here let's go ahead and type team member image container img, and here let's add a transition. So we can just copy this transition from here, and let's paste it right here, and let's change the duration to 500 milliseconds, and here let's type team member colon hover image container img, and let's type transform scale 1.2, and let's type border radius, and let's set the border radius to 16 pixels when you hover over this. And now if you go back and if you hover over this, we can see that we have the hover effect working alright. Now we need to scale up from the bottom, so it should not go down when we scale up. The image should go up. So here we can see that the image doesn't go down. So for that we need to go back over here, and for the image we need to type transform origin, and we need to set it to bottom, and we need to do the same for the circle. So here let's type transform origin bottom, and if you hover over this, we can see that we have the correct hover effect for our team members. So that's basically how you can design this team members section using HTML and CSS. Alright, so that's basically it for this video. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below, and if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.